Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, and I'm going to propose that all dungeon masters should abandon specific Dungeons and Dragons racial names specifically to use Magic the Gathering for three specific racial categories. All right, so I think we should abandon the D&D racial names for the Magic the Gathering racial names where there is no usefulness on the Dungeons and Dragons side, and I'm going to explain the massive usefulness on the Magic the Gathering side. All right, so let me give you the three races. We should switch for Merfolk, Kithkin, Merfolk and Kithkin and Leonin. All right, so let's jump in. So first of all, praise Jesus. Magic the Gathering and D&D are fastly merging into one product, right? And really, it's not. Now that's not correct. It's not merging into one product. Magic the Gathering is taking its correct place as a D&D supplement, right? As one of the most powerful D&D supplements that's ever been created, right? So let me explain something. So first of all, the chocolate and the peanut butter are already the Reese's cup is made. Okay, plane shift. Half a dozen minimum Magic the Gathering settings have already been converted to Dungeons and Dragons. Dungeons and Dragons Forgotten Realms, pushed over, made into a Magic the Gathering Dungeons and Dragons set, Adventures in Forgotten Realms, right? And then and then you also have D&D canon hardbacks that span both. The most awesome one is the Arcavio Strixhaven. That, Strixhaven is a canon Magic the Gathering setting, and Strixhaven is a canon D&D setting, right? So, and so the bridge is built between Magic the Gathering and D&D, right? By narrative, by logic, and by lore. Okay, all right. But once this synergy is being created, there's a lot of overlap. Right, and now we, as the dungeon masters, need to start lopping off. It's like when two big companies merge, right? Some people are going to get axed, right? And so here we have racial tags, racial names. They're just not needed. All right. So let's take Merfolk, right? Merfolk makes a ton of sense, right? And in your Magic to get, Dominaria is part of D&D. It's an official Dominaria is a D&D setting, right? It's brought over by plane shift, right? Merfolk are all over Dominaria, right? So what should we keep? The Triton, which nobody even knows what that is. The Triton, who's in Volo's Guide to Monsters, which isn't even on D&D Beyond anymore, right? So the Triton is a useless term, right? You should no longer ever again use it in Dungeons and Dragons. You should simply say Merfolk and use all the Triton stats, right? It's fine, and so Triton is completely unnecessary. It should never be, that term should never be said by another dungeon master because it doesn't serve any purpose, right? Nobody knows what it is, but Merfolk is established. Now, what do you get if you switch over to using Merfolk in your Dungeons and Dragons team? Well, you can immediately use the literally 1,000 plus Merfolk cards, which have named Merfolk types, Merfolk differentiations, Merfolk equipment, right? You get a huge benefit as a dungeon master if you switch over and use Merfolk. All right, next, Halfling, Kender, useless. Switch to Kithkin. Kithkin is the Magic the Gathering Halfling term, right? And it's much more useful to Dungeons and Dragons. Same thing. There's easily, I think there's maybe 500, 600, 700 Kithkin cards, right? And it does a much better job than Dungeons and Dragons ever did in showing you what a Kender and a Halfling are and what they do in action with art, which is better and more powerful than words, right? It's just if you can show people, or if you could tell them through words, show them, right? The show don't tell, right? So we should immediately jump over to Kithkin. All right. Next is Tabaxi. Please. Next. Done. Forget it. Switch to Leonin, right? And same thing. If you switch to Leonin, you get this powerful, useful, massive, easily 1,000 cards of a very usable lore, a very usable visuals, the Quasali Pride Mage, and the differentiate is much, much better. And frankly, I will say too, Magic the Gathering does a much better job than Dungeons and Dragons ever did, right, of showing how different a race can be, right? So let's abandon every single Dungeons and Dragons. Let's abandon Tabaxi. Let's abandon Halfling. Let's abandon Kender. Let's abandon Triton. Replace all these with Merfolk, Leonin, and Kithkin. It just makes sense, and it cleans up the mess that we have, right? So that is my suggestion. All that's my humble opinion. I'd love to hear yours. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider like, subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.